How much does Batman's? Oh, I'm doing this all wrong. Hey, everybody, this is Perch. How much does Batman's money matter? Uh, I'm so I like James Tynion. I think he writes good stuff. I think his books are fine. I think there's parts I like, parts I don't like. This is not to me. This isn't like a legendary creator writer of Batman that years from now we'll look back on. Say hey, here's one of the most amazing creators ever on Batman. I don't think it's going to be that way. I may be wrong. I think he definitely has passion for it. If you read his newsletter or you look at the stuff he does, here's somebody who's committed to wanting to tell comics, and that's awesome. And I think that I can just say good for that. Happy. I appreciate like the reach out to the fans that he does. I appreciate the effort he puts forward to kind of indicate that he likes a comic and he's excited to write. He's thinking of big plans and all the rest. I think that's good. I think that's what you want out of a creator, out of a writer. I mean, somebody who loves their job. Great. I think you could be that, and I could say, hey, I'm really really proud of it. Great. And at the same time, I can say I don't think I haven't seen anything to indicate that I'm going to be going, oh man, Denny O'Neil, Frank Miller, James Tinian. I don't think that's going to happen, but I hope it does. So when I say I don't, it's like from the work thus far, it doesn't feel like a legendary run to me yet. But I'm hoping for it. Nothing would give me greater pleasure than like 5, 6 years from now to be doing a big, retrospective kind of discussion on some storyline that Tinian did on Batman, with the same kind of emotion and good feelings and enjoyment that I did for Craven's Last Hunt. I hope so. I mean, I'm I hope so. The optimist in me wants to see that. The realist thinks it's unlikely. And this is kind of a rub. This is based on personalities. I think that for me, I can say I don't think I'm going to get that, and yet I'm not consumed with anger or depression or rage over it. I'm not like this is not me making a damning statement. I'm still gonna pick up the comics. I'm still gonna read them. I'm still gonna be intrigued of where they're going. I'm still gonna read Tinian's newsletter and see the stuff he does. I mean, all that's true. Just because I'm saying I don't think this is going to be considered one of the greatest runs on Batman of all time doesn't mean it's crap. It just it means kind of what I said. But one of the tools that Tinian is doing right now that Mariko Tamaki is also going to explore, and it's the state of Batman. And maybe this is a little bit of a read the room kind of moment. They're going to be examining Batman who doesn't have the same amount of wealth. This idea that Batman had gotten so rich and so kind of with so much money as part of who he is. He's a billionaire, and the Waynes are just so powerful. It's and who can relate to a billionaire? And so we're going to take away some of that money. We're going to make him a millionaire, and we're gonna have a more grounded view on Batman, which sounds fine, but at the same point, this is kind of where I always feel like it falls apart, and for the same reasons it falls apart with Spider-Man, with the whole logic of, hey, we can't have Spider-Man married and happy. That takes away from the core essence of the character. He needs to be relatable. He needs to be somebody that people can picture themselves at. It's like, yeah, that's true, but at the same time, he's also putting on spandex and swinging around the city on with webs and fighting people, and then sometimes showing up and going into space with the Avengers and all the rest. I mean, is marriage the unrelatable thing? I mean, I don't think so. With Batman, do a lot of people pick up the Batman comic and say, I'd really love to get into Batman, but he's a billionaire. And I don't like billionaires right now. They have hedge funds. I really want to read about a millionaire, not a billionaire. I Nobody thinks that way. I mean, well, I'm sure there's somebody who's invariably, whenever I make these statements, like nobody thinks this way, somebody will show up in the comments like, hey, I think this way. I prefer to read my stories about millionaires, not billionaires, sir. Excuse me, sir. Um, I don't think this matters is the thing. And I'm always a little leery when comic companies, writers, creators, editors, whoever, when they put an emphasis on what feels like a pointless detail. Um, a pointless detail meaning the more they address it, the more weird it will be. Uh, how much money does Bruce Wayne have? I'll be honest, I never really thought about it or cared. He just he's got a complete underground cave with all these different different bat ships and bat cars and bat drones and huge computers and everything else. And he used to have a butler, and and he's going to somehow he's like, how does Batman get up to the Justice League satellite or onto the moon? Like how did he do that? Did Superman fly him up there? Did he have a teleportation device? And if he had a teleportation device, then why does he need to get in the Bat car to go over to Arkham Asylum? Like what? I'm being a little facetious here, but I mean, like, the fact that Batman is fighting Darkseid and going on adventures with the Justice League and going to other planets and fighting things with Superman over in Batman Superman, and over here he's I mean, the fact that he's doing all that, it kind of, at that point, whether he's a billionaire or a millionaire or a trillionaire or a gazillionaire or whatever it happens to be, it doesn't matter anymore. He's Batman. He's doing all these things. He's making out with Catwoman on the roof, and then he's flying over to Ra's al Ghul's territory, and he's doing some stuff there with some resurrection pits, and like you get to the point of like, well, his net worth is actually $14 billion, but that's unrealistic. We're going to need to move that to $60 million. It's like, what are we talking about here? It's all kind of Fantasyland for me, and so it alarms, maybe too strong a word, but it worries me a little bit that we are spending so much time talking about right sizing how much money Batman has. It's like Batman is no longer going to have access to all the resources that give him like bat tanks and bat drones. It's like, okay, maybe not, but he has access to Superman and to Wonder Woman. Like, who cares if he's got 20 cars or two? I mean, arguably, multi-billionaire Batman, he's got access. Like, Mr. Terrific can swing by and just do some work for him, or he can he's like, hey, Barry Allen, I need you to come over here. There's the Joker's releasing some toxin into the reservoir, and I'm thinking, do I take the high speed car? But it gets really terrible fuel mileage, and so I don't want to hurt the environment. Do you think you might be able to come over here and run over there and like help out with the poison and all the rest? Like, why wouldn't, here's the crazy part, Batman would be a dick if he wasn't calling up the Flash to take care of that situation in favor of well, I could just call up the Flash to take care of this, but I think instead I'm going to spend the next 3 months working with Lucius Fox to develop a super fancy multi-billion-dollar tank plane thing. I mean, is Batman supposed to be riding around on motorcycles now because he can't afford a nice armor plated car? And this is supposed to be more realistic, but he's on the Justice League still? What are you doing? That's the problem I have with this storyline. It doesn't matter how much money he has. He's living a lifestyle that is unobtainable. It's got unobtainableism. Unobtainium? Yeah, it's got the unobtainium element in his. I don't know where that came from. He's living a life that is already fantastical and crazy. And I mean, are you really telling me that coming up in the future is going to be a comic where it's like, well, Two-Face has basically set in place a huge death trap that is going to eject Gotham into space. He's somehow managed to figure out a way to murder all of Gotham and everything else. And Batman has got to figure out how to stop him because he no longer has $1 billion to throw a bunch of planes and drones at it. He's now got to do it with a wrench and a motorcycle because he's only a millionaire. And can he save all these lives? It's like he's just going to call up Superman. If it comes down to it, Batman is not going to choose, I am Batman, I'm doing it on my own, and potentially risk 100 million lives in favor of just calling up Superman and being like, hey, I've got a real bad problem here. How do I know this? Because he is doing this right now in the Batman Superman comic. Yes, Batman's a loner. He doesn't like to, have these guys on speed dial all the time. But if you take away all of his money And now people are going to die unless he gets help. Batman is going to get help. Batman is not going to let a billion people die. And if he is, then that is a whole different story we need to be telling about Batman. If the story is that Batman is so arrogant and narcissistic and is a sociopath to the point that because he doesn't have his money, he's still going to kind of rough it out in these situations rather than lean on the Justice League, of which he is an active member of. Uh, that none of this makes any sense. I'm sorry. I mean, I just have a hard time buying into a comic where we're supposed to believe that billionaire Batman is he's got access to things millionaire Batman doesn't have, and therefore we're going to get a more grounded Batman. But Batman is on the Justice League and is regularly flying around into space and other dimensions and fighting Mxyzptlk and whatever else you're doing. I mean, like, these two things don't go together. It would make complete sense as a storyline if there was no Justice League or Superman or any of these characters. It was basically, what if this guy in this world without superheroes, dressed up like a bat and fought crime with his special gadgets? Like, this plot works for James Bond. Like, what happens if James Bond doesn't have the support of, Her Majesty the Queen's network of spies and all the gadgets and stuff? And like, you see, in fact, we've seen this movie before where James Bond is like, I don't have access to all the fancy Q weapons. I'm going to have to, sharpen this stick into a point and use that to beat up, blowfish. I mean, that works for James Bond, because in the James Bond movies, you don't have the Avengers, of which James Bond is a member of. Anyway, I like James Tynion. I think I like his run better than the run that came before it. Mariko Tamaki's, we've seen 2 issues of Dark Detective. It's hard to, you can't pinpoint if that, where that title's going to go, but it's fine. I mean, it's not horrible. I think that this idea, to me, it feels a little bit too much like they're going, hey, in the news right now, rich people are dicks, and we need to separate Bruce Wayne from being one of the 1%. It's like, but what's his net worth now? He's like $60 million is now his net worth, or $5 million. Like, what's Batman's net worth? I think he's still one of the 1%. He's not one of the 0.1% anymore. And does it matter if he is or he isn't? Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm overthinking it, I'm sure. What do you think? Do you care? Is this a plot point that matters to you? Does it make sense? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Hey, shoot me an email or follow me on social media or do any of that crazy stuff. You can see the information for that in the description for this video. That's about it, man. Imagine when I have a publishing business and some crowdfunding stuff and some comics to buy. This is like little end. I'm going to have to pre-record this little end bit because it's going to go on forever. Not hinting at anything. Wink. Thanks for listening.